The topics and opinions expressed on the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4WN Radio.
This is Beyond Confidence with your host, Divya Parekh. Do you want to live a more fulfilling life? Do you want to live your legacy and achieve your personal, professional, and financial goals? Well, coming up on Divya Parekh's Beyond Confidence, you will hear real stories of leaders, entrepreneurs, and achievers who have stepped into discomfort, shattered their status quo, and are living the life they want. You will learn how relationships are the key to achieving your aspirations and financial goals. Moving your career or business forward does not have to happen at the expense of your personal or family life, or vice versa. Learn more at www.divyaparekh.com, and you can connect with Divya at contact@divyaparekh.com. This is Beyond Confidence, and now here's your host, Divya Parekh.
Good morning, listeners. It's Tuesday morning, and it's amazing to be with you. So excited to share my new book, The AI Agency, is being received really well. And I've had some really great success stories with it. My clients getting a job, getting a promotion by using the strategy. So in today's world where layoffs are happening, where AI is coming over here, it's important that you get ready. And this is what the book does for you. The book gets you ready for not only today, but the next era where AI is going to be around. So let's bring in our guest, Justin. Welcome, Justin.
Thank you. Appreciate you having me, Divya.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure to have you. So we start out with either your childhood or youth. Do you recall a moment or a person that left a positive mark on you?
Oh, yes, multiple. I'm very blessed to have some very influential men and women in my life that helped me become the person I am today.
Mm. And any memories from that?
Yeah, plenty. But to be quite honest with you, I don't share my personal life, so I'm not comfortable talking about that.
It's absolutely fine. So you talk a lot about stress
Yes.
and you talk a lot about anxiety. So tell us, so many times, there is this perception out there that you stress, which is like a good stress, and then there is the bad stress. So can you share with us the difference between the good stress, bad stress, and anxiety?
Well, I don't really think there is a good stress, to be quite honest, from my perspective. Stress is something that happens externally and you respond physically to it. So stress is an outside influence. Anxiety is actually your body thinking you're still in danger from that stress, and it just keeps playing over and over and over again. And that anxiety builds and builds and builds, which has an actual physiological response in your body. A great example is I'm stressed, I have a presentation tomorrow. But my anxiety goes up because I think about it all night. I keep thinking about it, thinking about it, and it just causes all kinds of physiological reactions inside my body that are not inherently good for me in the long term. And so what's happened in the world is those external stressors have just basically multiplied and multiplied and multiplied and multiplied. And so we're in a constant state of elevated stress and anxiety with cortisol. And that has got a significant implication to our health.
Absolutely. And the mental well-being has been in focus for quite a few years now, and people are paying attention to it. Because beforehand, if you would say that, oh, I'm feeling stressed or I'm not able to do this, it was looked down upon. And even now, there is still quite a bit of stigma attached to it. So as our audience is listening into it, what would you say? Okay, now people are aware. What's the difference between stress, whether they're experiencing stress or anxiety? What would be the next step they could take?
In terms of mitigating that?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think the first thing is understanding the cause and effect of what is actually happening in your body and what practices that you are basically deploying every day that is causing this to be amplified. And I think it helps to take a big step back and go, what's the cause and effect? And the cause effect of stress on the body is very linear and it makes a lot of sense. You should have a natural circadian rhythm, a natural cycle. And that circadian rhythm is in sync with the day and the night and your sleep-wake cycles. Ideally, you should have high levels of cortisol in the morning that helps wake you up from your sleep. It gets elevated very quickly. It peaks out around, midday, mid-afternoon, and then should start declining. It should be coming down towards the middle of the afternoon, late afternoon, and early evening. And by the time you're ready for bed, it should be at an all-time low. It then hands off to melatonin if they were in a baton race. Basically, cortisol comes down, melatonin takes over, it prepares you for sleep, and ultimately you fall asleep and you stay asleep for 7 to 8 hours. It's very important to understand that that is very, very important for your health and your well-being, because in order for your body to make the right amount of hormones for the following day, you need 7 to 8 hours of uninterrupted sleep. If you don't, because you have monkey mind, you can't stop thinking, you're stressed about presentations, and your anxiety is elevating, you can't fall asleep, what that actually does is prevent your body from naturally developing the hormones that you need to function the next day. Too many consecutive nights of poor sleep and the incorrect duration of sleep, and your health starts to unravel. That's the basic science in very simplistic terms, is in terms of what's happening to your body when you are stressed, you have high levels of anxiety, your cortisol is not under control, and you're unable to get to sleep. Sleep is the most important part of our day because that's when we're able to regenerate and rebuild in order to be our very best the following day. And if we don't, and we've compromised that, we start showing up less and less like our true selves. We're grumpy, we're irritable, we start gaining weight, we don't exercise, all kinds of things start to unravel. And what's happened is over the past 30 years, we've begun to rewire our brains thinking that this is the new normal. And unfortunately, it is not normal whatsoever. So to answer your question, once you understand that process, to fix it is about awareness. Okay, I need to start prioritizing sleep. I need to start turning off my notifications. I need to not worry about a ping or a vibration or an email that comes in and that I have to get to it. We have to start putting boundaries up around our world and understand when private time is private for us. When we have work time, we can do these things, but understand that notifications and the messages and the way that we get content in the modern world is unprecedented in terms of looking back at history. We used to have a few channels. We used to have limited content availability. We didn't used to have every music, every song, every production, every movie at our fingertips. And so we were getting content at a much slower rate. Today it's unlimited, and that causes us to stay on edge because we're acting like machines. And we are certainly not machines. We've lost our humanness as we've evolved technology, and we're trying to become computers, and we simply are not. We never will.
Yeah, no, you bring up a very, very good point that in the past 30 years, the digital stimulation and just the amount of information our brain is receiving is tremendous. And so also before, people would work on a single task, and now multitasking has become not only acceptable, but multitasking has become the way to go, but it does impact focus. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I would agree. If you are single task orientated, you definitely have more resources and availability to complete that task, and typically in a more efficient and better way. I'm not necessarily against multitasking. There's many people that can do it very, very well. But I think it's the more along the lines of people are being forced to multitask because they have so much to accomplish in a short window of time. And when they don't get it accomplished or the tasks aren't completed as well as they possibly could, that then adds additional stresses because you're talking about quality, you're talking about efficiency and job security in many places. And so you really end up compounding the stressors on you simply because of the quantity of work that we have to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, definitely that makes sense. And you also talk about JOMO versus FOMO. So, what's the science behind that?
Well, again, there's JOMO is a constant enjoyment of, the joy of missing out. JOMO is where we find peace in being in the present. FOMO is the fear of missing out, and that is essentially what social media promotes because you're always thinking, well, it's someone else is having a bit more fun than me, or someone else is going on this trip. And we used to compare ourselves to a few people. It's the natural human thing to do is compare and contrast. Now you're comparing yourself to thousands, if not millions of people. And what they're putting up online are literally thousands of moments compressed into a single, posting that highlights the very best. And often isn't authentic. It's purely people are showing you what they want to show you. Influencers are trying to persuade you into a certain direction, opinion, event, acquisition, whatever it might be. And so what's happening is our brains are constantly in that FOMO space. I'm missing out if I don't catch up on my friends' feeds, or I'm not following this person, I'm not looking at that. And that basically perpetuates the anxiety and the stress and prevents us from getting into a relaxed state of rest and digest and being in a very easy, peaceful environment. Whereas JOMO, the joy of missing out is being okay with missing out, being okay with saying, I don't want to attend that, or I'm not going to go to that, I'm not going to watch that, and be okay with being in the moment. And that is a big, big point because we don't always live in the moment, in the present, in the very essence of what we're doing at this very second, as opposed to what are they doing? What am I missing out on? What could I be doing? And that it goes against our natural biology and puts us in this alerted state.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So, Justin, you have mentioned that become aware, create boundaries,
Yeah,
claim your priorities,
absolutely.
and be in the moment. And yet, so many times that where we know most of the people know what they're supposed to do.
Oh, for
And there
sure.
are studies that show only 92% of people are able to achieve their goals, their New Year's resolution. So, between all of these, what else could they do to create and sustain that habit?
Look, I mean, it's no different than exercise and nutrition. We all know that if you consume less calories than you burn, you'll be fine. And if you consume more, you're going to potentially gain weight unless you're on a very particular athletic type diet, right? And you're trying to consume more calories for a reason. It's the same with exercise. We know we all should, but not everyone does, right? And so it really comes down to hopefully um, understanding the cause and effect and trying to make a difference. Literally consciously trying to make a difference. We can't force people to do it, but we
Mhm.
can explain the science, we can explain the rationale, we can explain how we have got to the position that we're in today. How do you make people do it? You can't. But hopefully people want to. And they're getting, I think the general public is now getting to the point where they're getting fed up, frustrated, and they don't want to take any more of this. They don't want to continue living like this. And especially here in America, the analogy I can say is, in the 70s and 80s, when you were at work, you were at work. And when you left work, for the most part, you left work. You were unreachable. You didn't have the office in your pocket. Whereas today, that office comes with you, and employees respond to employers out of stress, anxiety, and fear of not being a top performer or not doing their job or potentially being fired. And so those boundaries of the 70s and 80s where we left work and we were unreachable are completely blurred and don't exist today. People respond to emails and texts and voice messages literally 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Employees and employers need to start putting boundaries around for the mental health and the physical health of everyone involved. There needs to be downtime. There needs to be regeneration. There needs to be time when you can regenerate so that you can actually show up at work at your very, very, very best. But if we don't, we're actually operating at a deficit, and that deficit has a cost to it.
Absolutely. And then that's the key thing to know, that if you are continuing to make the choices that you're doing, that there are consequences to it. If you're
Absolutely.
sleeping well, if you're putting it into practice that this is my priority, here's where I'm going to draw the line, you're going to see that in your health. And if you're not, you're still going to see it. Now, given all that, you have shared some deep insights. Do you have any science-backed solutions that people can leverage to continue on their well-being journey?
Yes. So we have a company called Rebalance Health, and Rebalance Health developed products, supplements in the form of a mint, something like you would suck on, a mint lozenge, that helps keep your cortisol within range. And they are science-backed. And when I mean science-backed is authentically, we treated the product like it was a pharmaceutical. So we did double-blind placebo IRB clinical studies on our products to see the benefits. And they were significant because what the products do is help calm cortisol down so that you can operate in a more normal human environment, to be productive, to be calmer, and to be able to eventually fall asleep and stay asleep so that your body can intuitively generate the hormones it needs in order for you to function the next day. And that's not a predetermined number, right? There's a lot of talk around HRT, testosterone, progesterone, estrogen, and doctors are promoting that you have to be in a certain number range to be normal. And I push back on that because everyone has a unique ratio of hormones, just like everyone has a unique thumbprint. And so saying that every guy has to be above 600 in testosterone is way exaggerated, because I know plenty of people that operate really well at 800 testosterone and people that operate horrifically at 1,000 testosterone levels. And so I think it's unique for individuals. So what our product does is help calm the cortisol down, keep you on a nice even trajectory throughout the day, brings your cortisol down nice and low in the evening, and enables you to fall asleep and stay asleep, so that your body can naturally make the hormones it needs. Where we had a lot of fun was we didn't realize what we had developed until after the study. And the study showed that we had a tremendous impact on perimenopause symptoms for women. Because when perimenopause hits, women's hormones start to go a little crazy because they're erratic. They're not consistent, which is why you get inconsistent period cycles. Sometimes you're heavy, sometimes you skip it, sometimes you get really hot, sometimes you get really cold, sometimes you can't think about where I need to go. All normal signs associated with that wonderful transition period at that particular point in your life. Men happen to go through similar symptoms, by the way. It's called andropause, but it stretches over a much longer period of time. Men go from 30s to 70s, where women are typically mid 40s to mid 50s, give or take. And so what we found was by regulating cortisol, enabling men and women to sleep, symptoms were dramatically reduced because the body was able to manufacture the hormones it needed, whether very small, even though they're very small, for the following day. And we saw an unprecedented outcome. We combined between two studies, one open label, one double blind. We had over 331 women in the study with debilitating symptoms. And we saw an average of an 80% reduction in hot flashes. Mm-hmm. Massive improvements, no severe adverse events whatsoever, which is, again, the benefit of supplements. Completely compatible with HRT, and again, works very nicely with HRT. Enables you to take less HRT because we're supporting the cortisol and the sleep, and therefore you don't need as much HRT because your body's naturally making what it can, even if it is very little. We saw a huge improvement in sleep and recovery, more rested when they're awakening. We saw a 60% improvement in energy and efficiency in working out and recovery. We saw improvements in libido. We saw a reduction in weight gain. So the visceral fat that comes with high levels of cortisol, lack of sleep, and your body's ability to metabolize more efficiently, we saw people losing anywhere from 1 to 2 pound sizes in anywhere from 6 to 8 weeks. So we were seeing massive results, all from simply understanding the cause and effect associated with high cortisol and quality of sleep. That's the relationship that we're talking about.
Mm. And how long has your product been out?
Been out for 3 years.
And are you following as to like, when people are buying? Because so many times, especially you mentioned that, you are treating this as any other clinical material. So like a lot of times, when the post-approval phase is gone, there's just kind of following through, is it living up to its promises? Is it
Well, it
doing
comes down to, again, what you talked about, where 92% of people don't follow through on their regimen. This is not a magic pill. There is no magic pill. I think even people that are on a Ozempic would say, well, that's a magic pill, but it's got its side effects and consequences too. It's a wonderful drug, but it has definitely been abused, and there are some significant side effects associated with it. So we're no different. Even though we're not a drug, we are a supplement, there are issues with it, meaning you have to use it, you have to stay on it, you have to be on a routine, you have to take it. It's not a difficult product to take. In fact, I have some right here. It's just a simple mint lozenge, like an Altoid, and you put it in your mouth and you suck on it like you would any other mint. It's no big deal, as long as you take it. If you don't take it, it's not going to work for you. And people say, well, how long do I have to take it for? Well, it's the same as brushing your teeth. How many teeth would you like to keep for the rest of your life? You have to keep brushing them. It's the same thing here because technology is not going away,
right?
right? This is not going away. This is the root cause of the problem. And I'm not against technology. In fact, I use it every day. We're on a Zoom call now. How wonderful do we have to have this technology so we can have this interaction? The problem is we weren't taught how to use it responsibly and how it affects us as humans. We haven't evolved. This has come a long way in 30 years. 30 years ago, we just started with email and internet in the mass use of it, right? The iPhone came out in the 2000s, right? Since then, our world has exploded, but disease, which is dis-ease, right? Discomfort and health issues have skyrocketed. Mental health issues have blown up out of proportion compared to where we were. It's all because of this. We weren't taught how to use this as humans. It's a tool, but a lot of people use it unreasonably amount throughout the day and night. And we now begin to learn about blue lights. We're learning about the sun and the moon, the effect. We're learning about sitting in our chairs all day and how that has a negative effect on us. We weren't designed to sit in chairs, look at screens for 16 hours a day. That's just not what humans were designed to do. And if we insist on doing that, we're going to have health consequences. That's the bottom line.
Absolutely. And that definitely makes sense. And here's the thing, what you talked about, that the smartphones came out in 2000s, and I resisted for a good 6 to 7 years. And I had those touch phones, and while I was sending text messages, I'm like, So, so coming back to the point I'm making over here is that you cannot do without technology, because
No.
if you think like, oh, I can go to the bank like the good old days, it doesn't work, because you may be able to do it, but you cannot do without it. So
Well, you
yes,
can do it, but it goes to your first point, which is it's inefficient.
uh,
You can deposit in 30 seconds using your phone, right? Or I can spend 30 minutes and go to the high street, go to the bank and make the deposit. You'd much rather be more efficient with your time. That's what you're constantly fighting is there's always another way of doing something. We tend to choose the most efficient and the most effective, but that efficient and most effective always tends to keep us stuck, sitting.
absolutely. So it's important to recognize that, yes, it may cause efficiency, but like where to unplug, where to put that phone down, because I will tell you, for most people that I have observed. The minute the phone rings, the minute the notification goes,
They pick it up.
unless you turn it off consciously, your hand goes for it. It's almost like human beings have been designed to serve the phone, not the other way around. That, okay, now the phone rings, I gotta answer to my master. And so these are the habits that have been created. And you have talked about hormones. There's
Yeah.
something like TikTok brain, watching things, watching different videos, it creates its dopamine. So we've talked about a lot of different things, and you said that lozenges. Now, besides the things that you have shared, are there any other things that you'd like to share with our audience?
Well, yeah, my book, Stress Nation, was written to explain the why. It's not a sales tool. I'm not pushing my lozenges. I mention it briefly in one chapter in one paragraph. The book is designed to explain the why. How do we get into this problem in the first place? And there are lots of things that I offer as tips and strategies on how you can reorganize your priorities around your health and your well-being. Things like really, really having superior sleep hygiene. And sleep hygiene is a very big topic, but essentially it's a period of time before you go to bed to have a ritual that helps you wind down. And one of the important things for me is no screens. Try and have no screens 2 to 3 hours before bed. Really important, because you don't want to boost your cortisol. It's kind of like, I'm a bit of a wuss, but can you imagine watching a horror movie just before bed? You're up here. Your anxiety, your stress is up here. I don't watch horror movies. It's not for me. But, I could imagine if I was, I wouldn't sleep that night. I just would not sleep. That same thing is happening when you pick up your phone. And it's that dopamine that you talk about when you scroll on the phone in social media, that people are looking for that next dopamine hit. And it's empty. It's an empty hit of dopamine. It's not authentic. It's not real to you. It just keeps you in this horrible cycle of doom scrolling. And so before you go to bed, a couple of hours, no screens, meditate, go for a walk, be with your partner, your pets, your kids, whoever. Try and bring yourself down into a very relaxed, calm state so that when you do go to bed, you fall asleep quickly and ideally you stay asleep. And talking about in that space, in your bedroom, you want it to be cool, about 64 degrees, give or take a few degrees. You want to go to bed in non-synthetic natural fibers. So don't go to bed in polyester because that's going to warm your body up and potentially cause you to wake up. You want to keep your body nice and cool. You want the room to be dark. You don't want to have a lot of noises in the room. If you want to have sleep music and certain frequency music to help get you into that state, even better. And then likewise, just being honest with ourselves. I'm in my 50s. If I have a heavy meal and lots of water before I go to bed, my body is going to wake me up at midnight to use the bathroom. So try and go to bed on an empty bladder. That's just like common sense. Otherwise, you're going to get woken up, and then it's very difficult to potentially go back to sleep again. So likewise, we talk about food, you talk about water, let's talk about alcohol. Everyone thinks, I need a drink to go to bed. I've deserved that glass of wine. Yes, you've deserved it, and you get to make as many choices as you like, but understand that alcohol is not a sedative. Everyone thinks it is. It actually turns into a stimulant after a couple of hours because the alcohol gets converted to sugar and boom, now I'm awake. So a lot of people talk about, I wake up at 2 in the morning. I'm like, did you have a glass of wine with dinner? Yep, that's why. And so I'm not preaching be a Buddhist. I'm not preaching no alcohol, don't do that. I'm just saying understand that if you do that, that there is a reason that you are waking up. So maybe do it on the weekends, maybe do it on a Friday night, on a Saturday night. And so you have you have a cheat meal once a week for a lot of people that follow that kind of diet where you eat healthy and you have a cheat meal day. That's when you have your glass of wine. That's when you have your alcohol. Or drink earlier in the day. Drink at lunchtime, have a glass of wine with lunch or something so that by the time you're getting ready for bed, that's all out of your system. Those are the types of things that we need to be honest about, especially as we age, because we make less hormones as we age. And therefore, we're more susceptible as we get older and we're more vulnerable compared to when we were kids, young teenagers in our early 20s. Pretty much invincible. You could do anything, fall asleep like standing up, wake up the next day and do it all over again. As we get older, we kind of have to respect our bodies and our minds a little bit more than we used to, simply because they're a lot more fragile, especially as we go through these transitions through andropause, menopause, perimenopause, etc. And we get older. We have to understand the biology a little bit more, especially as it relates to technology.
Yeah, that's powerful. You have talked about hormones and andropause and menopause and all that. So if people are looking to understand about their hormones, what's the best way to approach that?
Really, for me, um, it's you can't beat an endocrinologist. You just can't.
Hmm.
I love my general practitioners. I love my different doctors, but they didn't go to school for that. And the way that the system in the US is working is doctors are looking to earn a living just as much as everybody else. It's not what it used to. Insurance companies are not reimbursing doctors the way they used to. And so doctors look for other channels of making revenue. All of a sudden, you've got general practitioners who are issuing hormones. And as much as they are knowledgeable, they're nowhere near as knowledgeable as endocrinologists that actually specialize in that. And I see a lot of clinics popping up around the country with doctors associated that are hormone clinics, and they may just, work with men on testosterone. But you can't take one hormone in isolation. You just can't. You have to look at it like a recipe for a cake. And if you put way too much flour in your cake, it's not going to work. If you put way too much water, it's not going to work. It's the same with the human body. Your ratio of hormones are unique to you. So the best way to go about it is go find an endocrinologist and go get a comprehensive hormone panel. And then the doctor's going to ask you a series of questions because the numbers alone don't tell the story. Are you tired? Are you sleeping? How's your libido? How's your weight? How's your energy? Those are all questions associated with how your body is functioning. And based on the way you answer the questions, the way that the complete hormone panel reads to the doctor, they will make a recommendation to you. That isn't the end of the story because in 90 days' time, we're going to repeat the process all over again because, again, you're unique. And all of a sudden, your ratio of hormones may fluctuate and be different. So in 90 days, we'll do another blood panel and they'll come back to the doctor and we'll ask you, are we doing better? Sleep, exercise, energy, libido, and so forth. And based on multiple data points, the doctor will make recommendations as to what they believe to be the best course of action to optimize what you're doing. They will also ask you, just like we've covered here, lifestyle. Are you drinking? How's your diet? How's your eating? Are you exercising? So it is not like I said, it's not one strategy fits all. Every human's different, and every hormone panel is going to be different. And the expertise from that endocrinologist or hormone specialist, let's be honest, there's other subcategories that can go out there, would work. But you're not going to go to your optometrist to get your leg reset. So why would you go to a general practitioner to get a expert opinion on your overall hormone wellness? We have to be a little bit more, I don't know, strict with who we seek advice from and how. I am not a doctor. I don't pretend to be, but I put enough of the pieces together to understand the big picture. And I always encourage people, go see the expert and get some understanding. Let's not be Google doctors. Let's not self-diagnose because there's so much misinformation out there. It's unbelievable.
Absolutely. And then that's definitely a good point that seek the experts who have done the work, who
Yeah.
know and who will guide you the right path, and knowing that it's not one size fits all.
Nope.
So, given all of that, how can people find your book, connect with you if they seek to?
Wonderful. My book's available on Amazon. It's called Stress Nation. It's also available on our website, which is rebalancehealth.com, as well as our lozenges, and you get a hold of me there as well. So we try to put out as much good information we possibly can. All our clinical studies are on our website, and we're really trying to help people understand how to live better, healthy lives and learn what's happened in the past 30 years and the stress that we're all feeling and the anxiety we're all feeling is not normal, and we need to put it back into context and take back control of our lives by putting up boundaries.
Any last thoughts?
Yeah, I always like to say this is all well and good, but the number one thing that you can do for your health is to laugh and to smile and to have fun. And I think one of the things that have been remiss over the years is actually going back to the person that you fell in love with and go flirt, go have fun, go be kids, go have fun. Don't take yourself too seriously. That's a wonderful way of bringing your cortisol down, and it's dirt cheap. It just takes your time and being a little mindful to remember. I try to make my wife giggle and laugh at least 5 times a day. That's my personal objective. And I think if you can do that, it lightens the mood. It just brings love and joy into the world. And more importantly, it's amazingly good for your health.
Yeah. And as you mentioned, it's such an easy access to have. So thank you, Justin, for joining us and sharing your insights with us. And thank you, wonderful audience, for being part of the show, because without you, the show would not be possible. Do reach out to us and let us know how we can serve and support you to live the best life you can. And thank you, Juan, for making the show possible technically. Be well and take care until next time.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you for being part of Beyond Confidence with your host, Divya Parekh. We hope you have learned more about how to start living the life you want. Each week on Beyond Confidence, you hear stories of real people who have experienced growth by overcoming their fears and building meaningful relationships. During Beyond Confidence, Divya Parekh shares what happened to her when she stepped out of her comfort zone to work directly with people across the globe. She not only coaches people how to form heart connections, but also transform relationships to mutually beneficial partnerships as they strive to live the life they want. If you are ready to live the life you want and leverage your strengths, learn more at www.divyaparekh.com. And you can connect with Divya at contact@divyaparekh.com. We look forward to you joining us next week.